seasons. 24 of the last 29 games have been one-score games in the fourth quarter. That's why we don't have very many large spreads this week. And it's a full slate. Nobody is on a bye. The byes take a bye this week for the NFL. Offense, well, it's down this season in the NFL. Headliner, 4:25 Eastern on CBS this Sunday, Bengals at 49ers. Here are the primetime games beginning Thursday night with the Bills hosting the Bucs. Sunday night, Chargers, that same 8.5-point spread against the Bears. And Monday Night Football gives us the Lions hosting the Raiders. And we're going to pick the primetime games in every game this week with Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn. Both had losing weeks last week, both having losing seasons now. But Pete is now on top.
I've rallied. And we all stink, by the way. But look, the good news is neither one of us was Ryan Wilson. He went 0-13.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Which is equally as impressive as going
really
13-0. And I will say this, the public had a bad week, as did we. You can make a case
I
that
heard
Pete
the Sharks had a bad week,
Pete
too.
and I are man of the people.
Yeah.
Ryan Wilson trying to break that record this week, which he can because everybody's in action.
Yeah.
He could go 0-16 this week, and that's what he's shooting for. Let's start with that Thursday night game. The Bills, 8.5-point favorites at home against the Bucs. Interesting note here, both of these teams sit in 7th place in their respective conferences. Each of these teams, the last wild card team in their conference.
Just hanging on, hanging on. And this is one where, as you're getting into really the meat of the NFL season, these short weeks, Thursday night games really plays toward the advantage of the home team in this case. Dawson Knox, though, at tight end looks doubtful for this game. Ed Oliver is questionable to play. To me, those are two big pieces. If they can't go, obviously helpful for the Tampa Bay Bucs in this case. I'm really not sure what to make of either team, given what we've seen from the Bucs the past 2 weeks and what we saw from the Bills last week. I think those injuries on defense are starting to showcase themselves. The number just looks big, though. I think I like the under best of any play in this game, but I'll take the 8.5 points here in the Tampa Bay Bucs. I don't think they're the team that we've seen over the past couple of weeks where they've really struggled. So I think they keep this thing close, but the Bills win the game.
Nothing better than the first game out, and we have Johnny Flip-Flop. Put him on. Go ahead, put him on. You flip-flopped. I see it was right here. It said Bills, and now you're on the Bucs.
Why does it say that on yours, but it doesn't say that on mine?
Right here.
Do you have the older version?
Yeah.
What do you fax in yours? Is that what you did?
Jack wants to get me going about you flip-flopping. You flip-flopped.
I made the pick this morning, where I have plenty of time to make that decision.
What made you flip?
Again, just looking at really both these teams this entire season, I don't think the Bucs are as bad as this line's showing them to be at this point in time. And I think the Bills have some problems right now, in particular on defense with the injuries they sustained. So I think Baker Mayfield will bounce back. He will play some better football. Some concerns about Chris Godwin, whether or not he'll play in this game, and some other pieces on the Bucs. But again, the Bills win. I just think if they win by a touchdown, given what we saw last week, it's a sizable margin.
I'll take Buffalo, and here's why. Every time Buffalo starts having major problems, they go home and they take a team and they beat the daylights out of them. And I think that's what they're going to do in this.
Do you think that's what this line says?
And here's the other thing. Defense hasn't played well because they don't have a lot of pieces anymore. So now they got to revamp. And I think Sean McDermott needs to revisit and let Josh Allen play loose and free again and score points. And I think they will in this game. I'll take Buffalo minus points.
Let's get to the Sunday night game. We're going to talk about your beloved Bears. Chris Hassel.
Not so beloved ananymore, but they did get a win.
Yeah, they did.
Justin Fields era over?
I don't know. He was
Stop.
going to be a CrossFit bro, and now maybe he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Bears. I'm just kidding. But Herbert, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in his last 3 games. But you guys like the Chargers in this spot.
Yeah, look, he struggled, but I think in this case, they come home, he gets back on track. They're just the more talented team at this point. Look, give Tyson Bagent a lot of credit for the way he played. He really you can see why he got the backup job. You saw him in preseason. He's got a great feel for the game. He can spit the football around. This is one where I think this game, though, will become, if it does become a shootout, it plays to the advantage of the Chargers. So I'll lay the 8.5 points here. It's a big number, but I think they're capable of covering this.
By the way, the kid threw for 170 yards. Let's not act like he threw for 350 or anything.
the win.
He managed the game. He did a nice job. The defense played much better and has played much better. But I think the Chargers in this spot, despite the fact that Brandon Staley's their head coach, they're going to find a way to win this game. Herbert will play much better than he has been playing.
Chargers still...
I mean, he's a bad coach.
He's just
They have to turn this around and get to the playoffs.
If they lose this one, that seat is scorching hot. And
No,
that's,
he's done.
You think this is it?
It won't happen right away, but he's done if they don't make the postseason.
Why wouldn't you do it right away then if he's done? Why would you hold on to it?
You're going to make the offensive coordinator you hired to make the quarterback better, who hasn't been any better?
Yeah, you hire someone else, you move on, you start the search.
Yeah, I think they let him play it out and then they get rid of it.
How do you make a statement like that and then back it up? But
Because if they lose this game, they're basically not going to make the postseason. Wouldn't you agree with that?
There's too much football left to be played. No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
All right. Pete says lame duck. Just let him die. Just let him lay out there to the rest of the season. Let's move on to Monday Night Football. It's the Raiders at the Lions. Detroit just got their fannies handed to them in Baltimore.
That was a physical beatdown. It was. And John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens took a page out of Dan Campbell's playbook, and they were the more physical team. They were the more aggressive team. They did whatever they wanted on offense. And I think it's obviously a different challenge this week for the Lions, taking on a Raiders team that it may not be Jimmy G. It may be Brian Hoyer at quarterback. There's a lot of frustration from the Raiders right now. And I think this is a get-back-right game for the Lions. So I'll lay the 8 points. I do think this game hits the over, too. I think there'll be a good amount of scoring from Detroit's side on this one. And I think if Jimmy G does play, they'll throw up some numbers, too. But I'm laying the 8, playing the over.
Baltimore beat the Lions because they played great on offense and because the Lions did not. And you know why else? Because it was back-to-back road games. You know who's playing back-to-back road games here?
The Raiders.
The Raiders. I love the Lions. I think they get back on track. Home, Jared Goff, much better than road Jared Goff.
Are you calling him a dome quarterback?
You can call him what you want, but he's much better
I'm
at home.
asking you.
No, but he's much better at home.
All right, those are the primetime games. Pete and Brady picking them, recapping those picks, and there was a little bit of a flip-flop there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We'll allow the flip-flop.
You act like that happened on our show. It didn't. It was hours before we even got in here.
I'll allow it. Jack allows it. It's just, Pete's going to say, if you win, Pete's going to say, but that's not what that's not your
good.
first
It's
guess.
just good flip-flop. He has no conviction.
They agree on the
fence.
Chargers and the Lions.
Over here.
So look at Pete. Pete just going with all the favorites there.
Yeah, I did that last week.
He's kind of chalky, really tough.
That didn't work out very well.
Laying a combined 25 points in the primetime games is Pete Prisco.
Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, presented by Penske. We're going to go through and get some picks for the 1 p.m. games for Week 8, featuring an AFC East matchup with the Patriots and the Dolphins. Bill Belichick coming off win number 300 in the regular season, but a tough test against Miami. And luckily, we have the mayor of Jacksonville with us here to talk about the Jags and the Steelers. A Steelers offense that really starts to be, or looks like it's going to be clicking or starting to. But we're going to kick things off with the Jets and the Giants. Tyrod Taylor doing a decent job. We were talking about, should it be him over Daniel Jones? We said no. You're kind of
Pete
saying
says
maybe.
no. Brady's saying,
No, I'm just saying their offense looks improved. Look,
They scored 14 points.
right. Their defense has been the thing that stood out the past couple of weeks. They've only allowed at most 14 points over the past 2 weeks. The defense has stepped up. Tyrod Taylor has done a really good job. I think one of the things you've seen, at least offensively, though, is they're playing Jalen Hyatt. They're finding roles for Wan'Dale Robinson. They're putting guys in places where they're now kind of figuring out who's best suited for them moving forward in the passing game. And I think Tyrod Taylor's done a good job navigating what's been not a great offensive line protection so far. So this is one where I love the under in this game. I think that's the best play between these two teams. But I'm going to go with the Jets. They're coming off the bye. And give Zach Wilson a lot of credit. Obviously, he was thrusted into a situation where we didn't think he was going to be the guy this year. He's matured at the position. He's playing better football at that position, and I think he gives them a chance here. So I'll lay the points with the Jets, but I think the under's the best play.
I'm going to take the Jets as well. I just feel it. They scored 14 points, the Giants, last week. Neither one of these teams is good on offense. Who has the better defense? The Jets' defensive line might be a problem for that Giants' offensive line in a big way, so I will take the Jets. I think turnovers lead to short fields, which is why the Jets will cover.
What about the total there, Pete? That's about as low as you'll ever see.
Yeah, and I probably would go with Brady and go in the under.
That's a Big Ten West.
But both defenses have been playing really well lately, and I think both defensive fronts, for that matter, will do a good
Mistakes
job.
are the only thing that could ruin that total.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Patriots at the Dolphins. Also a 1 p.m. Eastern time kick on CBS. Tua 5-0 in his career against Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the Dolphins will win this game at home, but I do think the Patriots will keep this thing close. I think they found something last week. That final drive, Mac Jones, the offense, they found something. And look, they could be getting some help back too. Keon Way, Josh Uche on defense could be potentially coming back. We saw the offensive line for the Dolphins struggle last week. So I think just 9.5 for a divisional game, Bill Belichick, it's too much to me. And I think Belichick's going to try to take away the big plays, take away Tyreek Hill, and see if he can't force Tua to be patient, methodically work the ball down the field. It's another reason why it's a big gamble here. I also like the under.
you know, they found something. They finally got Demario Douglas involved in the offense, which they should have been doing all along. And he did have a concussion, but before that, he was limited, which was strange because he's the only guy that has juice on that offense. I think they're going to cover the number in large part because what they did when they played him the first time. They play off. I think the Dolphins have to learn how to be patient in their offense. You know, last week they scored, what, one touchdown because they got a field goal and they got a defensive touchdown, field goal off of a defensive turnover. They have to learn how to be patient. So what's the next step for Miami? This is going to be a patient game. I want to see how they evolve. I think New England stays within the number because they play them well that way.
Also at 1 o'clock, we have the Jags and the Steelers. Jags favored -2.5. The Jags have won 4 straight. They're 5-2. And if we were looking at this matchup maybe a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if we'd think that the Steelers team is as tough as a test as they might be. Pete, we're seeing some life from Kenny Pickett and the Steelers team, but do you think the Jags, is this going to be a tough test for them, or are they going to run away with it?
Yes, it's going to be a tough test for him, and Mike Tomlin's done a great job. We got to give Mike Tomlin a lot of credit. What he's done with this team is amazing. I mean, they're sitting right there in the midst of the division race, and nobody saw that come. At least after the first couple weeks, nobody saw that coming. So I think Pickett's playing better. But I like Jacksonville here in large part because they get the extra days of rest. And Trevor Lawrence was not healthy at New Orleans. He's going to be much healthier. I think defensively, when you look at what Jacksonville's done defensively, they've limited the run game. And what do the Steelers want to do? They want to run the ball to take the pressure off Pickett. I think he's going to have problems with it, so I'll take Jacksonville.
This is a home team pick for me. I just think the Steelers at home with that defense against Trevor Lawrence, who is still battling the knee injury. Don't know how mobile he'll be. And the offensive line has struggled at times. They're a tough defensive front to match up against. So to me, I'll take the 2.5 points. I think the under is there's another game I like the under. I think it's a good play. But again, the Steelers offense might have found something last week. You know, I know they're coming off the bye. They had a couple weeks to prepare, but it was the best showing that Matt Canada, Kenny Pickett, and this offense has had. I think that continues this week as well. So I'll go ahead and take the 2.5 points here and the under.
Jacksonville perfect away from home this season, though. 2-0 in road games, and they were also 2-0 in London. Let's move on to the last early slate game on CBS. It's the Falcons, a road favorite, at the Titans because Ryan Tannehill likely isn't going to play. Mike Vrabel saying on Wednesday that he never said that Will Levis would get his first start, the rookie. He says that if Tannehill can't go, it'll be Levis and Malik Willis. Pete, you're shaking your head.
Well, because I think Levis is starting, and they're trying not to tip their hand. Everybody knows what the other guy can do. Malik Willis, you know what he can do. He's very limited. He holds the ball. You know, last game, Tannehill got the ball out in 2.5 seconds. I think Willis held it for over 3. You got to play Levis, and I think Levis will start. And I think Levis will play well. You guys know how I feel about Will Levis. I think he's going to be a heck of a quarterback. This is a great opportunity to go in against a team that's also playing back-to-back road games. Not long trips, but they're still back-to-back. And I'm going to take the Titans to win this game because I think Will Levis is going to play the majority of the game. They might get Willis in for some gimmicky snaps, but I think Levis is going to be their quarterback. And I think he's going to be their quarterback going forward, by the way.
You're saying money line, not even just taking the points. You're saying money line.
Win the game.
Wow. Look at Pete Prisco. Bold statements by old Pete. I'm laying the 2.5 points here for the opposite. I just think we've constantly undersold the job that Arthur Smith and his staff has done. Desmond Ridder taking care of the football, doing just enough. And they're doing a lot, even without Bijan Robinson playing last week. You get him in the mix. It's a tough team to match up with offensively. Like, I can't tell you that.
Nobody knows.
It was a head injury or whatever else he was dealing with.
Got one carry, though.
Which makes no sense.
Right. Again, beside the point, I think he will be back for this game. I think they're tough to match up with. They found ways of eking out some low-scoring wins. This is another one where I think they cover the number, get the win. And I wonder for the Tennessee Titans, where a lot of the players' heads are at. You traded away a leader in Kevin Byard, one of their best defensive players and pieces. There's talk of Derrick Henry potentially being on the trade block, maybe DeAndre Hopkins. You wonder how all that plays, factor into the psyche of the players. And even, playing, if it's going to be Will Levis, playing a young guy, looking more into the future as opposed to right now. So it's hard to ever bet against Mike Vrabel because in these spots, he always seems to surprise you. But I'm going to lay the 2.5 points with Atlanta.
Next up, we have the Saints and the Colts. The total at 43 and a hook now. It's Minshew Mania versus Derek Carr. The Saints offense has not been playing well. Derek Carr kind of pointing some fingers out there, and Pete, you're shaking your head. And you
Pete
think
shakes his head
really
at everything.
Derek Carr.
Everything.
But especially Derek Carr.
He points his fingers at everybody. He screams at everybody. He's the problem. He's playing awful football. He's just not playing very well. But having said that, The other guy doesn't play very well either.
He counted for 4 touchdowns last week.
And he turned it over 4 times, including at the end of the half in the end zone for a touchdown.
You just can't give any credit,
He's a feast or famine, and you're going to get that. That's who he is. He's always going to have big plays. He's always going to have big mistakes. He's going to make a lot of mistakes in this game. I'll take the Saints defense to win it.
Does the line look fishy to you?
A little bit.
I'm not sure. I thought maybe it'd be the Colts by a little more as a home. I mean, neither team has necessarily looked great. That being said, I'm betting more on the Saints and the Saints defense in this one. So I'll take the point. And this is one where I like the over because I think the Saints are going to start to find something here, getting their passing game together. I think Derek Carr is a big game in this one.
Okay, we also have it. Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry. What did you want to say?
I was just going to add that Pete is not the president of the Gardner Minshew fan club.
No.
We see it week after week.
Well, he doesn't play for Jacksonville anymore, is what I'm telling you.
He doesn't like either of the quarterbacks in this game.
When he was there, he wasn't very good either.
How about these quarterbacks, though? Number 1 versus number 2 this year in the NFL draft. Bryce Young still doesn't have a win for the Carolina Panthers, and C.J. Stroud, who already has 3.
Can I ask you this question? Are the Panthers going to go 0-17?
No.
Okay. So then if you were picking a game for them to win or be competitive, cover a number that's that small, you'd have to think of off their bye, and maybe versus another team that's, we'd say Houston's far exceeded our expectations. C.J. Stroud's played phenomenal. But if they're going to win one, maybe this would be it, right? And so this is one of those games I look at and say they got a couple weeks to prepare. Thomas Brown now takes over as the play caller. Maybe that provides a spark to the Panthers' offense here, and they're able to score enough to cover this number and even potentially win. So it's going to be hard to pick the Panthers the rest of the season. In fact, I'm pretty sure they've been awful against the spread this year, 0-5-1 if I'm not mistaken. This is one, though, I think they cover, and maybe even perhaps win in this particular case.
Yeah, I don't. I think when you start changing play callers, you're starting to panic, and panic has set in, and when panic sets in, that's a major problem. The quarterback they drafted first overall isn't playing very well. Let's be real. And he doesn't have a lot of help around him, in fairness to him, but he's not playing well. The other guy is, and I think that shows up here. I'll take the Texans.
We got the Rams and the Cowboys next. Cowboys coming off a bye. They're 6.5-point favorites. Any chance that the Rams can pull off an upset, Brady?
I don't know about upset. I think they can keep it close, though. This is another team that we weren't really sure what the expectations were coming into the season. Matt Stafford's playing well. We saw Puka Nacua early, now him and Cooper Kupp. And then obviously the defense and Aaron Donald, they're still playing so hard right now. This could be a tough matchup, I think, up front for the Cowboys offensive line versus the LA Rams defensive front. So the number looks kind of big. I know Dallas is extra rest coming off the bye. But again, I'm not counting out Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. So I'll take the 6.5 points, and I also think this game, it's the over.
Yeah, he's played close in every game this year, and even the ones he didn't win. That's who the Rams are. But I think this is a bad spot for them. They had a physical game last week against Pittsburgh. Now you go out on the road against a team that's rested and getting healthy. The one problem with the Cowboys up front, they haven't been across the board, haven't been healthy. They're getting healthier up front. I think that shows up. I think Dak plays better. I'll take the Cowboys minus the points.
And that would be an 11th straight home victory for the Cowboys. Also 8-2 over that span on the 10-game home winning streak. One more game in that early window. It's Eagles minus 6.5 at the Commanders, who, Pete, the defense, again, leaves you shaking your head, right? They've given up more explosive plays than any other defense in the league.
They play a basic four-man front, very little blitzing. That's not who Jack Del Rio is, and I think they have to change the way they play. It's easy to sit there and say, hey, we have these 4 great defensive linemen. They're going to get home and get to the quarterback and impact it, and it's not worked out that way. Yeah. So, but, last week was more about the offense. They couldn't get the offense cranked up. He's been sacked. Sam Howell's been sacked 40 times. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're doing to that guy. Otherwise, remember last year, they went to Philly and ran the ball down their throat and beat them last year. Remember, up in Philly? That didn't happen in here. I'll take the Eagles minus the points.
I'm also laying the points here with the Eagles on the road. Look, the protection's an issue. Sam Howell holding onto the football is a bit of an issue here. There's some concerns for me, at least watching Jalen Hurts move around. He doesn't seem like he's 100% healthy. But that being said, I just think the matchups on the outside, there should be enough big plays in the passing game by Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to cover this number. So this is one, again, I'll lay the points for the road favorite, but also play the over.
I lied. We have one more game in the early window.
We do. The Vikings and the Packers. Pete, this is a team where we're really...
He can't help himself with the Packers.
So stubborn.
Going down with the ship.
Vikings coming off that big upset win, but are you taking the shovel out for the Packers? I ask you this like every single week.
If they lose this game, the shovel might be coming out.
Might be?
Might be. Right, the division is a crappy division.
Oh, man.
It's a bad division.
Yeah, the Lions have something to say about that, but go ahead.
It's a bad division. But the Vikings actually played well the other day. Kirk Cousins in primetime was fantastic the other night. But this is a bad spot. You're back out on a short week.
What's a bad spot about that?
Short week, outside, division game. I don't think he's going to play as well, and I think Jordan Love, in the second half last week, if you go back and watch the game, played much better because it was looser and freer. I'll take the Packers.
I think the Vikings have a better idea of what they are as a team right now than I think the Packers do. And that's just where we're at. At this point in time in the season, I think the Packers are still trying to find out what really they are as an offense. Kirk Cousins has played phenomenal, and he's doing so without Justin Jefferson. I'll be the first to tell you, I made a mistake in thinking this season was over for this team when they lost Justin Jefferson because he's that dynamic. They've overcome that. Jordan Addison has been a touchdown machine as a rookie. T.J. Hawkinson stepped up, and their offensive line is playing better. You know, Dalton Reisner played instead of Ezra Cleveland last week, and they looked a little better up front.
No sacks.
And there might be something to that. So the reality is, if we're sitting here on a pick'em, I'll gladly take the Vikings on the road, and Kirk Cousins, with how this team's looked right now, I just think the Packers are still trying to find out what their identity is on offense and defensively. They've been vulnerable against the run. I think they could be vulnerable versus Kirk Cousins making a few big throws here.
But Pete's going down with the ship, down with the shovel, I guess, with the Green Bay
The
Packers.
shovel will come out next week. I'll bring it in.
The Pete picked them to
You don't
win
even have
the
a shovel.
NFC North, not giving up labor.
You don't do hard labor.
Many more picks from the Early Edge crew on the Early Edge podcast, hosted by the coach, Jonathan Coachman. A look at the late slate, 3 of those games on CBS, including the big one, Bengals
You love doing
and
that.
49ers on CBS. Let's bring in Pete and Brady. And we've got a 5.5-point spread in this one. San Francisco laying 5.5 at home, coming off back-to-back losses. Some people starting to take their hands off the gas with Brock Purdy.
Well, they've been a little banged up.
I guess feet off the gas is what the saying is.
That would be a better saying.
Unless you drive like that.
They've been a bit banged up. Offensively, they've not played well the past couple of games. And they're taking on a team that's going to be rested coming off the bye, and their offense was starting to get it going before that. So, to me, it's too many points. I'll take the Bengals in the 5.5 here. I think they take care of business, although we differ here. I think the under, a little bit more of a lower scoring game between the two, in my opinion.
You know, everybody's pointing at Brock Purdy. The defense gave up over 400 yards to Kirk Cousins in prime time the other night. He did whatever he wanted to do. It was ridiculous. They didn't sack the quarterback. Joe Burrow, healthier, going to go in there. They're going to score points. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but they're definitely going to come within that number, and it is going to be a higher scoring game.
Also at 425, we have the Ravens and the Cardinals. Ravens favored by 8.5. Cards have lost 4 straight against the spread after starting 3-0 against the spread this season. We talked about this Ravens team looking like a legit contender in the AFC.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, once they get that pass game cranked up like it did last week, they are a legitimate contender. Number 1 defense, scoring defense in the league as well. Now, they haven't played a lot of great quarterbacks, but they're not playing one this week either. Josh Dobbs has kind of become Josh Dobbs. He struggled the last couple of weeks, and I think he's going to struggle here. I'll take the Ravens minus the points.
Zay Flowers just continues to blossom and flourish as that go-to guy for
Flowers
Baltimore.
blossoming. I like it. That's good.
So I think that continues.
Put that on Twitter.
I think that continues to happen here. The offense is finding itself under Todd Monken, and the defense, as you pointed out, Pete's been phenomenal. So it's a big number. I'll lay the 8.5 points though on the road here for Baltimore.
Not Twitter anymore. It's X.
Whatever it
marks
is.
the spot. Let's move to the Chiefs and Broncos. Also CBS, 4:25 Eastern, Kansas City on the road. They are laying 8 points. They've won 16 straight in this series.
They've been phenomenal, but Denver played them close the last time. The defense in Denver's playing better. They are coming off a win. The offense is starting to kind of play better. I do worry about the loss of Kareem Jackson in that secondary. He's kind of the enforcer, and obviously, you know, however you feel about the suspension, it is what it is. They lose one of their best defensive pieces, but on the road for the Chiefs, laying 8, divisional opponent, it's just a little too much for me. I might feel better if this number's like at 6.5, laying them with the Chiefs, but I'll go ahead and take the points in the Broncos.
If I didn't see what the Chiefs did last week offensively, I would agree with you, but I think what they did last week is where they're going from now on. They've found something. Those young receivers are starting to play better. Kelsey opens up everything else. I think this Broncos offense you mentioned, they're still not great, and defensively they were better last week, but Jordan Love struggled in the first half. He actually made some throws in the second half. I'll take the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
All right, at 4:05, we have the Browns and the Seahawks. The big news here, Kevin Stefanski saying that Deshaun Watson is out. P.J. Walker is going to get the start. Pete, I know you were backing the Browns.
No, you got to go to him first on this one.
Okay.
He's the Deshaun Watson expert. I want to see what he has to say.
Come on, expert on this. Look, he's not going to be a part of it. They played P.J. Walker the past couple of times. They've gone out there now, and look, he struggled to take care of the football. The Seattle Seahawks defense has gotten better. Tough place to play, too, for the Browns, and they're basically one-dimensional. If they can't get the passing game going, you're going to be taking on a team that should be potentially getting DK Metcalf back. I think they'll have a plan for Myles Garrett. I'm laying the 3.5 points in the Seattle Seahawks, not having Watson there at the starting quarterback. I just think it's an uphill battle.
Should he be playing?
That's up to him, apparently. Forgetting anyone else.
I'm trying to get you back into your controversy again.
I'm not the one making it a controversy. Go talk to some of the other people out there.
If he's cleared, he should be playing, and the word is he was cleared. But he's not. And I think their defense didn't play well last week. I think they will play well this week. So they hang around in this game. I think it's close. I'll take the Browns.
Now we get into our best bets. Brady, is this game your best bet?
No, it's the Saints.
Oh, he flip-flopped. That's right.
I mean, it's on the rundown. All I have to do is read the rundown, Chris. No, I'm taking the point in the Saints here on the road. I think if not now, then when? You know, this is a team, again, I keep going back to it. They're supposed to be the favorite heading into the season to win the NFC South. They've got the pieces. It just need to come together. I think this is that moment for Derek Carr and their offense to showcase what they're capable of. So it's now or never, I think, for the Saints to really prove what they can do.
The captain always goes down with the ship.
What the hell was that?
I have the Packers as my best bet.
What is that from?
I don't know.
Do you really even feel that confident about this game?
Yes, I do.
We've been awful in our best bets, by the way. So
3 and 4 for me. Don't drag me down to your
2 and 5. Yeah, you're so much better.
Don't drag me into your abyss.
Yeah.
You're dragging him down.
So much better.
Hey, by the way, he's been bad with his best bets. I've been bad with my best bets. Todd Furman's been awful with his best bets.
Are you going back to Ryan Wilson again?
Right. No, he's terrible.
I mean, if he went 0-13, he had to have missed his best bet.
Last week, and I was tied for second of all the expert picks.
It was a tough week.
It was brutal.
It was a tough week.
Stink.
Yeah. No one knows anything.
If you stink, that means you can only go up. It's just a bounce-back week for both of you. Getting a look at the Week 8 afternoon picks with Brady and Pete.
The captain always goes down with the ship.
Oh, you sounded like you were impersonating somebody.
That was like from, I think it was from an old movie.
You guys are out of control. Pete, Brady, thank you so much. And Chris, as always, with your lovely impersonation.